Hi, this is Jim Musser with Upstream Ministries, and this is episode 43 on Views from Downstream. And I'm glad that you joined us today. And this week, I'm focused on observations and the implication of those observations that I made of Christian students, particularly freshmen, as they came onto campus. And one observation that I made consistently is that very few of these students had a very in depth and broad understanding of the scriptures. They could recite some Bible stories, but to really understand the scriptures and to be able to articulate their faith from those same scriptures was missing. And because that was missing, their ability to follow Jesus, to understand what that truly meant, was also missing. And so we spent most of our time with these students helping them to better understand the scriptures and learn more how to follow Jesus. And a second observation I made was that they were very uncomfortable with prayer. And we would spend lots of time helping them understand what it meant to pray and how to pray. And it just, again, one of those things that was noticeable, and as all of these are, surprising observations when you consider that these young people spent 18 years in a Christian home and a church environment. Thirdly, they had no missional understanding of their lives. In other words, they didn't see their lives as being ambassadors for Christ on campus and anywhere they went. They mainly saw their reason for being in college was to earn a degree and to enjoy college life, make new friends, and just kind of enjoy new and broader independence. But they did not see their role as God's ambassador for Jesus on campus. And so, as I said, these are indicators of what's going on, what I call upstream, because the university doesn't create this problem. It's a problem that existed when they arrived. And you look at the environments of what's the church like, what's the home like, and the obvious conclusion is that these young people were not discipled properly either in the home or in the church. And what I want to focus on this week is how churches and parents can begin to focus on these deficits that I've mentioned and improve those dramatically. And again, it's not as hard as it may seem to be. It just needs an intentional approach. And that's what's been lacking both in the home and in the church. Somehow, I think we feel like that it's a spiritual osmosis, that students growing up, or children growing up in our home, if we're Christians and we go to church, they're just naturally going to adopt our faith and understand it, and they're going to follow it. And in the church, well, they're in church and they're in our programs, and of course they're going to spiritually mature because that's how you do it. But the reality is, and I've said this many times, it doesn't work. That approach doesn't work, and this observation is not mine alone. Campus ministers, campus pastors all over the country for decades have made these similar observations, and basically we've made it our job to reduce these deficits in these young people. But in reality, that shouldn't be our job. In campus ministry, our job should be to help students who are already fairly mature to learn even deeper how to share their faith, how to be an ambassador in Christ, and how to grow more in their faith and in their following of Jesus. And we spend most of our time instead on trying to get students to understand the very basics of Christian discipleship. And it would be so much better if the parents and the church would take that upon themselves to do, so that we can then really come in and support these students in doing what they already probably would naturally be doing if they're discipled appropriately. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. We're going to look at some positive things that we can do. And until Wednesday, have a great day.